Think we are live. Alrighty, how do you feel about starting 2 or 3 minutes early?
Sounds good.
By me?
Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome. This is the National Communications Committee and our workshop on Kappa Kappa Psi branding awareness and marketing. We are so excited to be here. My name is Mia Harvey. I am a life member of the New Zeta chapter of Kappa Kappa Psi located at Edinburgh University.
My name is Hannah Trezise. I am an alumni member of the Zeta Epsilon chapter at Michigan State University.
My name is Winston Rogers. I'm an alumni member of the Nu Omega chapter at Hampton University.
So it looks like we have quite a few people watching, which is super excited. If you have any questions throughout the workshop, go ahead and comment them in, and we have someone watching it at all times. And there will also be questions at the end that we can answer for you. So with that being said, why don't we just kick it off? So today's agenda, we're going to go over what is a brand, what is the branding of Kappa Kappa Psi. We have some examples for you, elements of a good chapter brand, and then of course questions and discussion.
So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with what is a brand? It's a pretty straightforward question, but as we go into 2023, or 2024, excuse me, we want chapters, of course, to make sure that they're aware of these things. We understand that we are a fraternal order, but we want y'all to be aware more of the more businessy side. And one of the parts of the business is your visual elements, your visual, how you present your chapter, how you speak, how you write on behalf of your chapter. And that's all called branding. So branding more or less is a series or of visual and or auditory elements that create an identity for a concept or a concepts. The concept or concept being Kappa Kappa Psi. The purpose is it helps your audience, excuse me, to understand your goal and your purpose. When they see your chapter, when they see your brand, what is it that they're going to get out of it? Why should this person be drawn? What specific things should bring this audience to you? Branding also allows you to have a more consistent way to communicate with your audience, i.e. social media posts and flyers. So chapters, when you're speaking or making posts, having a brand, having a steady, stable brand allows you to have an easier way of communicating. Everybody is more or less on the same level or the same understanding when they know how to speak to the audience. Again, your audience being whoever's on social media, your college campus, or even just members within the fraternity. And so that's a very important reason for branding. And as a whole, Kappa Kappa Psi is a brand. We could show you some other examples of other brands. Miki, go to the next one. Thank you. So common examples of brands are Apple and FedEx. Apple, because their branding is so steady, they really don't have to say the word Apple anymore. You just see the image and you already know that that is Apple. And Apple's, again, branding is so strong, you know that it's a tech company. Same thing with FedEx. You see FedEx and off rip, you know that's a shipping company. But what you may notice or what you may not notice is that you'll see things like Apple Watch or Apple TV or even all the different sub FedEx brands. These are called sub brands, and we'll get into that in the next slide. So a sub brand, more or less, is just a brand within a brand. You saw earlier that Apple Watch or Apple TV is a sub brand that allows your audience to see an even more specific part of the brand. Okay, now that I know that I have an Apple thing, now I want to focus on Apple Watch. That is the actual item that I'm trying to get, or I'm trying to watch something on Apple TV. Brand architecture is the relationship between brands within an organization and how they interact with each other. And if you look at it as an umbrella, Kappa Kappa Psi is the overarching brand of our order, and then your chapter is a sub brand. Your chapter is still connected to the brand as a whole, but it's centered around a smaller focus. I guess your smaller focus being your region or your school. A sub brand is related to a parent brand. It connects back to a parent brand's values and missions. As a chapter, you may have your own specific target mission and your these different aspects of it, but at the end of the day, um, us as or at the end of the day, your chapter is Kappa Kappa Psi, is a representation of Kappa Kappa Psi. So the national mission, values, the national imagery, symbols, everything supersede your chapter stuff. So you want to keep that in mind as you're designing, as you're building your brand guide, as you're trying to understand what it is that your chapter's focuses are and how you're going to present it to the rest of the world. And again, like it says at the bottom, chapters should be considered as a sub brand of Kappa Kappa Psi. You are Kappa Kappa Psi, but you're just under that umbrella.
Great. Thank you, Winston. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the official branding for Kappa Kappa Psi. Next slide. So for the Kappa Kappa Psi brand, you probably know it to be containing like the colors blue and white, to be containing our logo and our crest, for example, and other recognizable elements that you might have picked up on throughout your experience with the fraternity. But we actually have a lot more specifics to our branding of Kappa Kappa Psi as a whole, and our branding guidelines are very accessible on the National Fraternity website. Next slide, please. So first, I want to talk a little bit about why we have branding guidelines. So branding guidelines are particularly useful for standardizing communications for a brand or a sub-brand, ensuring the elements of the brand can be used effectively and efficiently while also marketing to your audience. The branding guidelines help you to establish a recognizable and formal look for your organization, which allows you to be able to use that in all sorts of marketing and advertising. And then these guidelines can include such things such as like specific colors, HTML codes, fonts, images and logos, and proper and improper uses of logos that you've created for your organization. They can have the reason and purpose for your branding and anything else really to help use for consistent communication. And then we have the branding guidelines, which on the next slide, we have a QR code. So for those following along, maybe we'll just give a little minute in case you want to scan the QR code. This will actually take you right to our branding guidelines. But otherwise, on the kappakappapsi.org website, you can also reach this through the media tab on that first homepage. It'll say the marketing or branding guidelines are very easy to find. All right, so what is in Kappa Kappa Psi's branding guidelines? Now, the Kappa Kappa Psi branding guidelines were established in 2013, so we're hitting about 11 years of having these branding guidelines. In these guidelines in this PDF, there is the foundation of the Kappa Kappa Psi brand, as well as an explanation of its importance and why we use it. the Kappa Kappa Psi brand promise, which a piece of it is actually at the bottom of this slide. The Kappa Kappa Psi's brand expression can be summed up as musicianship, leadership, and service, which helps to center us along the mission and shows why branding is important and tries to marry those two. We have the color palette, including all sorts of different codes for any projects you might have. Makes it very easy to be able to plug those in when you are doing Kappa Kappa Psi design work. We also have how to use the crest and logo correctly, alongside examples of both correct and incorrect usage. We have official typography or fonts for different communications that we might have. And we also have design recommendations for business cards as well as letterheads. Next slide, please. So here are just a couple of examples. This is what you'll see in the branding guidelines in terms of the crest usage. We have on the left, we have the full color crest. Then we have a monocolor or single color crest in the middle. And then we have what is called the silhouette or shadow crest all the way on the right. And then we also have our official letterhead. These are also our logos, and we have one with the icon bar at the top and then one without the icon bar at the bottom. And the one without the icon bar is especially used in like black and white works, just because that blue, I believe, is specifically symbolic of our flag. And so when it's in black and white, it's not in our typical Kappa Kappa Psi blue. And you can see more of that explanation in the branding guidelines. Here are some logos we have from our centennial and then from the Kenneth Corbett Chapter Improvement Award. You can see how the elements of the larger fraternity branding are used in these. And then we also have our Alumni Association branding. So here we have two different versions, both for our Alumni Association, and you can see how they use the crest at the bottom, specifically the single color blue crest.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Hannah. So we're going to go into some examples of a good chapter brand, and you can even go into the guidelines as well that are through the QR code, also on the kksi.org website, and it talks about how you can create your own. So what does it entail? So it combines the Kappa Kappa Psi brand with elements of the chapter and university in a professional manner. Keep in mind that the branding guidelines disallow chapter logos, which display or allude to a chapter or college university mascot. Logos displayed the letters and or actual name of the fraternity along with the chapter name in a legible format with all iteration. So some good examples of this is the Alpha logo. These are some of the logos you can find in the branding guidelines. So Alpha chapter, Kappa Kappa Psi, then you see the silhouette there. Then you have the Lambda chapter. They have a little shield there with the Lambda middle. That's cute. And over here, you can see it kind of looks like the letterhead we have, which is the Kappa Kappa Psi Lambda chapter, and they have the Lambda in there to break up the wording. These are all great examples of it as it shows off your individual chapter, but also the fraternity as a whole. And perhaps it's using a few of your college colors, but also working in the fraternity colors. So we have some more examples here. So I serve as the secretary for NEDA, the Northeast District Alumni Association. We just had a new logo come out, which we're very excited about. Over here, this is a great thing that you may want to create for your chapters, which is a branding guideline. So you can see up here, we have the logo. It's in both the color that has the blue and the yellow, or it's the black and white version. So that one's good for single color print. We have fonts here, so we try to keep everything uniform with the same fonts. We have fonts, subheadings, and body copy. You want to not have more than 2 to 3 fonts in one image, otherwise it just gets too clumped up. I personally prefer 1 to 2 fonts, but that is just me. And I try to keep them all in the same family. The colors here, so NEDA uses a mixture of both the national colors and then the Alumni Association colors, which has a little bit more of a darker palette. So these are all the hex codes, which you also can find on the branding guidelines. And then we have some examples down here. So we have our National Convention Participation Grant. You could see they kept the same colors here, have the logo. Same thing here, but we put it right next to, for the National Intercollegiate Band Participation Grant, we put it with the NIB logo there. Southwest District was so generous to give us some of their graphics and logos for the new convention this year. So you could see here, Southwest District Convention combines both Kappa Kappa Psi and Tau Beta Sigma. I think they did a beautiful job uniting both fraternities together for their 23 logo. And then this was their graphic kind of announcing it today to the world. So you could see they used some of the right colors. They kept a uniform. And then this is their Southwest District Convention logo for this year. So we are wrapping up. This was a little bit of a quick workshop, but if you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat right now. We'll give it a minute or two. While we're waiting, Hannah, Winston, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I would like to say, excuse me, my camera's off. With chapter logos, we only showed you probably like one or two, but other chapters are also have very, very creative, you know, logos for their chapter. I've seen all different shapes. You know, you saw kind of that Superman shape with the Lambda chapter. My chapter, the new Omega chapter, we use a circular one. So is Delta Iota with Florida A&M and a circular one, and they think they have another shape as well for Iota Zeta. So you really can be creative with how you express your chapter's look and express your chapter's kind of design and things of that nature. You don't have to stick to such a strict format. But if you do have any questions, do not hesitate to contact the national communications team, or contact the executive team. We have we have a bunch of people that are willing to help you out, kind of look it over and things of that nature.
That's great.
We actually have a question in the comments. When trying to make large-scale graphics, such as posters or backgrounds, the low-scale resolution of the official crest has sometimes proven to cause for some blurriness, and as well as there's been some blemishes, such as random spots when zooming in. Would it be possible for a vectorized version, SVG, of the national crest to be provided for the fraternity? This would also help a lot in making alterations for chapter branding, i.e. recoloring the silhouette crest without having fuzziness over other color issues on the edge. Absolutely. Send an email to our committee. We are more than happy to give you those graphics and give you exactly what kind of colors you're looking for. That is a resource we are happy to give. So have no fear. We have all those vectors for you, and we can put it in any kind of format you need.
It's a great question.
Yes. And following with that, if you have any questions about your current branding guidelines, also feel free to reach out to us. Like Winston said, we are here to help you out. I remember when in my chapter was creating a logo, we actually reached out to the then VPSA who was running the communications team. What was that, 4 years ago? So they got back to me. They gave me some feedback. It was phenomenal to work with them. So reach out to us. We're more than happy to even give you some creative ideas if you're looking for that too. All right, Hannah, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I mean, I was going to pose a question to you two. I don't know if that's unconventional,
Not at
but
all.
as someone who has not created a branding guidelines, I'm curious what you would recommend as like a first step for a chapter trying to get off the ground with that.
The first step is, in my opinion, to more or less talk to your team and understand what the national brand is and what the national mission and values are, and then kind of understand that and kind of discuss it on a more local level. Understand what the national level is saying, and then just saying to yourself, okay, what is it that our chapter is doing? What is it that we might need to do additionally to kind of help push forward the mission? And then go from there. Usually in a lot of branding guides, you may notice that the first thing that they have is the organization's missions, their values, and also the purpose of the brand. These are important before the imagery, because you have to let the team behind it know, okay, this is why we're doing it. This is what I have to keep in mind as I'm going through the process of building out a brand, building out a look that just kind of that not only stands out but kind of um accentuates I think I used the right word Kappa Kappa Psi's overall national and mission values without overstepping that. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I said earlier, uh you're a chapter within an organization. Now, you're going to be around your chapter people the most, but the national organization supersedes the mission. The mission of the national organization supersedes anything that the chapter does. So every look, everything that happens has to build off of that, but still has to, at the end of the day, like be the national thing. It has to tie back into it always. So I was saying the values, the mission, understanding that first and foremost, that's going to get you the furthest when you build everything else. And then of course, once you add in everything, your logos, your colors, your typography, that all is going to come in later on.
Perfect.
Yeah. I would have to say, when you're thinking of your chapter branding and imaging, make it fun. Have it be a fellowship or a brotherhood and say, everyone go home, go on Canva, make a fun logo and bring it back, and we'll work together and create something that is unifying of the whole entire chapter. It doesn't have to be just one person who's like, oh my gosh, I have to create something that envisions all of us. Make it fun, make it a joint effort. For example, New Zeta, my home chapter, just created a new logo and they incorporated the star into our logo. And then it just has an N and a Z for New Zeta. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be a singular color. You can make it fun. So that I think that's probably one of my biggest things is when you're starting off, like Winston said, start with the big picture and the little things will follow in afterwards. Because if you try looking at the little details at first, it will get really stressful. And we don't
Mhm.
like being stressed here.
No, we
We
don't.
are a stress-free zone. It is the year of 2024. So again, if you want some more resources, the committee has a lot of them. We're happy to give those out. And if you are looking for some one-on-one guidance, reach out again. Oh, we have another question in the chat. Kappa Kappa Psi has a unique color palette with blue and white being the main colors and gold as other options for more variations. While trying to create chapter assets for branding, such as our logo, I have struggled a bit to add variation due to our university colors also being blue and white, University of Kentucky. Do you have any recommendations of other color options that I could use to create a less bland and flat look while still staying on brand? So that is a great thing. You can look up complementary wheels, the color wheel, and it'll tell you what complementary colors are there. Or maybe you can incorporate something a little darker, like a navy blue. You can also use layering and oh my gosh, what's the word? I'm thinking Canva turns, but transparency as
Oh,
well.
right.
Um, yeah, I think that's really cool though. You guys have the white and blue though, so you're already on the right step.
Mhm.
I will say to add on to what you were saying, my school, Hampton, also has blue and white in our color scheme. So to combat it, we've used different shades of blue, and we've also accentuated the gold for our primary logo. Now we also have like two other versions of it, one that's kind of black and gray, and then we have one that follows a little bit more to our school's shade of blue and a darker color. So you can play on those varieties kind of like that.
And Ken Corbett put a fantastic comment in the chat. Be sure to reach out to Thomas Bradford over at National Headquarters. He's our, forgive me, National Publications. There's a third word in there, and I'm
Publications and media manager.
Publications and Media Manager. Thank you, Hannah. He is a phenomenal resource and would be a great person to chat with. Alrighty. Do we have any more questions or any end thoughts from our wonderful workshoppies? Alrighty. So, like I said, thank you guys so much, AEA. If you have any more questions, you can message us on any social media platform and we'll get right back to you. You can also email communications@kksi.org, and that comes back to everyone in the committee. Um, we're really happy to be here, and thank you so much for tuning in. And we hope you guys have a wonderful night. Okay. trying to end the live stream. Oh, this is so embarrassing. How do I